Come on, come on, come on. Here we go. At the 2 spot again. Hopefully we can get Jamar at 2 like we did yesterday. That'd be a sweet little thing. Alright. Stream looks like it's coming through. Nice. Perfect. If not, more than happy with Bijan there. At the 2-fer. Yeah. Not going to sweat it either which way. Again, this is a sprint. Going to be sprinting heavy in this final stretch before the season starts. It's my personal contest of choice. I like how it's a smaller pool size. 3 weeks instead of 17. Kind of have a bigger sweat even if you poop a little bit on 15. We do know, might as well queue them up now. Rams is 17, then we have Arizona and Tampa Bay. And now you see why I have a lot of Tampa Bay and Rams. Their matchups line up pretty well. We're not getting any of these top guys. Well, Puka at least. But the rest are in play. Colby Parkinson's now ahead of the other two. Ain't nobody got a fucking clue what's going on in that tight end room. And then we got Cardinals and Buccaneers. This is the one thing, maybe I'll do a couple of DraftKings ones on stream at some point. The one thing I do like about DraftKings is I could queue up all 3 of these teams and then just immediately get them in ADP order, which is nice, but it's not a deal breaker for me. DK doesn't have any of these different types of contests. They're all just kind of different pool size entry fee of the same tourney format. I probably prefer Devon. It's honestly a mixed bag. I don't know which one I prefer. Egbuka again. The price is getting fucking high for me. Like, in something like the marathon, it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, you expect the value of Godwin over a 3-week stretch in the playoffs is still very evident unless he just completely overtakes him at some point this season, despite Godwin getting that contract. I don't know. I think people are just wising up a little bit to Godwin's injury, but still, it's... I liked it more as a dip in Godwin's ADP, not necessarily a rise in Egbuka's. I thought Egbuka was fairly priced. It's interesting to me also, like, Evans hasn't really changed much. It's only Egbuka. So it's literally just Egbuka hype, not necessarily Godwin injury shit, is what we're seeing. You're going to make me take Bucky Irvin at 23 again? We'll find out. Yeah, we'll probably aim for McBride at 26. I think that's a fair play. Kyron's also fine. I'd be happy with either of them, to be honest. And then hopefully we see a little bit of an ADP value at this first pick at 23. Bowers, Brown, and Bucky still on the board. I mean, yeah, we're just gonna take one of these top 4 and not really complain about it. What does LA look like? KC, Dallas, Houston. Not ideal, but I'm not gonna be sad about getting. All right, wow, this is interesting conundrum. Each of the top 3 are there. I mean, I gotta risk it to get fucking Bucky at the next one. Let's go Bowers. If we somehow land AJ Brown or Bucky at this next pick, we can throw a fucking party. Otherwise, we'll just take Kyron. Like, if I'm this guy, I'm just snap picking Bucky and AJ Brown. I don't get what the... If we get AJ Brown here and immediately have that Las Vegas Philly 15 matchup, I'm ecstatic. I don't know what the holdup is. Damn. All right, we'll take that to the bank this early. That's a fucking win in my book. AJ Brown and Brock Bowers at 23 and 26. That's a fucking take, man. We may have to even go a little Hurts now. We're working to Philly more. We have Washington, Buffalo for Philly. We can easily get into that later. This is not where I expected this 2 spot going, but it might be just where it has to go now. Let's queue up some commies. Yeah, I don't think we're going to take Jaden Daniels. McLaurin's probably worth the bet that he plays, especially dipping into 40s now. Like, I get the agita being scared that he holds out. I'd have to assume they figure something out before the season starts. It'd be very dumb, in my opinion, if they didn't. Just wasting a year of Jaden's deal. The likely scenario is that he wants a longer contract than they want to give him because he's sneaky old. He hasn't been in the league that long, but he is an old head, McLaurin. I'm not going to worry about ordering the later fuckers right now. We can keep them down there. Just get the 81s. And who was that in the 30s? Washington crew we got to adjust for. And then we should be set to just hopefully keep taking some insane ADP values in this draft. They got me feeling nicey before we even deep into this thing. Debo does concern me a bit. The one slight benefit of Debo is I think with the Commies offense, he may get like a couple of those. I mean, what made Debo super relevant in fantasy wasn't like insane volume. It was the fact that he was getting rushing carries and used in very unique scenarios in San Fran. That's really going to be the driver again in Washington if he can get it. Otherwise, he still might be good in real life, but for fantasy purposes, you start to get a little concerned. Why the fuck is Marv still on the board at 40? We're in for an interesting draft at this point. We got people staking their claims on offenses early, dude. Hey, fine by me. Fine by me. Like Hurts or McLaurin at 47 as an auto take. Get that fucking stack with AJ Brown. Feel really good. It can just take running back and wide receiver the rest of the way. I ain't gonna be upset in the slightest. Both still on the board, 3 picks left. Let's see if we got a horseshoe up our ass tonight. I'm very Reishi in the 47 now in the sprint is fucking, it's the apple of Eden if I've ever seen it. That's tempting. I don't really think we want to work into Detroit at all, this current get-up. Hurts is the obvious pick. We are kind of just flying on the wings matchup-wise with the others. All right. Fuck yeah, man. Take that one to the bank. We're going to be working into Philly rest of the way, so Washington and Buffalo will be priorities. We can queue up other Raiders as well, like Jacoby. We'd be happy to take him. Maybe even take Geno as the second quarterback. I'll queue him up, but I'm not too high on Thornton or Beck. Do we take Connor for his one matchup with Bijan? I don't really think so. Hey, if you want to be crazy, let's talk crazy. How many motherfuckers you know got a Jalen Hurts double after taking Bijan and Brock? That's just, I get it. Might be too much fucking stacking into Jalen Hurts for a lot of people's stomachs, but I doubt sincerely that there's any other roster in the sprint right now that has this. So now the rest of the way I can just not play it safe by any means, but like we have the built-in ceiling already. And the rest of this can just be filling it out with a couple of game stacks, players we like, without getting too crazy in the later rounds. So this should be a fairly easy, just pick them and go the rest of the way. Can start to reorganize this shit, which is admittedly a fucking mess right now, given all the teams that I queued up. But it will help us later, which is why you gotta take the painstaking time to fucking do it. It sucks, but it is what it is. It's what helps you when you're in a pinch. And the motherfucker you wanted just went. Would help me a lot on yesterday when I was doing 2 drafts at once. Alright, we should be good there. Next picks are 71, 74. And we're in the 95s. 71, 74. Jacoby Myers going at 61. Get a grip, bro. Yeah, I don't really get that one, but all to you, brother. Burrow on a slip here, too. We got a quarterback hesitant draft. The reality is, with the way this draft has been going, I should just lay back. Hopefully we get a couple of game stacks along the way, but I'm just going to keep taking ADP values. I think that's probably the smart decision. You know, hopefully we can work into some other shit. Do we reach on B-Rob? I doubt it. Too early for me to stomach. We'll take Swift or Monty at this first one. If we can get one of them, we should be able to. If we miss on both, I guess we could go Rome. Lave's interesting, but admittedly a little ugly. Swift goes. I'd really love to net Monty here. I feel good about him at a 2. Pacheco goes. All right, Monty's there. Yeah, I think we can safely go Monty. I'm not too concerned, like, the drop-off from Olave to Pearsall, Gordon, Addison once he's back. That's not going to phase me too hard. If this were BBM, I think Olave into Pollard is definitely the right move. You get an immediate mini. But since we are spread over 3 games, it's less of a concern to me. El Rico. Pearsall is also interesting, given is Jennings still beat up? I think the value in Slick Ricky with a bunch of 2 wideouts on the mend early in the season could be what gets us there. Addison after taking Monty is good, but again, that's BBM brain talking to me right now. We'll take Slick. Not only do I like Pearsall as a player, but with Jennings now hurt by a calf strain that I have seen could be re-aggravated. Not anything I'm going to bet on a re-aggravation, but calf strains can be difficult to manage. And then you already know that Ayuk's going to be on the mend until at least midway through the season. He's got a fair bit of opportunity. This won't be a super high passing offense, but it will be a high-scoring offense, which is always good for us. Also, second-year players are usually the ones you bet on to rise, particularly at wide receiver. He's a rookie that dealt with a lot of issues like getting shot, you know, so can't blame him too much. And admittedly, given the injuries at wideout, we need a little bit of a early season push here. Like, the true benefit of this Hurts, Brown, Smith, Hurts double is that you have massive ceiling if the Philly offense is humming and running and shooting in those 3 weeks. It's a much more difficult bet to say that this Philly offense is going to throw the ball enough to support A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith being like massive assets, at least consistently, in the regular season, given how good their team is. Like, they won't have to throw the ball too much every game in the season, so we will need some support in our receiving room to make sure that we can actually make it to the dance and capitalize off that high ceiling that the double gives us. My favorite running back on the board, Caleb Johnson's still there. I don't get it. I don't get the hate. I still love him. I loved him as a player, and then he went to my favorite team. Can you blame me? Next one is the 95-98. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we are just taking running back and wide receiver for the foreseeable future. We'll work into the later tight ends and quarterbacks much, much later in the draft. At 95 and 98, I mean, we can unqueue Kyler. We're not going to be taking him. 94, 98. Josh Downs does play into one game with Pearsall. Does he get anything else? He has Seattle and Jacksonville. Obviously, B-Rob would be a happy take for us because we get that game with our main stack out of Philly and a little bit of running back support. Downs would be fine. We're not taking Kelsey. Cup, I don't really think is the move. But we may be forced into a difficult spot here, wide receiver depth-wise. We do have Vegas plays the Giants, right? Yeah, in the last week. So Tracy could be just a depth running back piece for us to consider. Still think Downs would be fine. Downs, especially with this lineup, like Brown and Smith, I expect, even with a hopefully increase in the passing attempts, they're going to be boom or bust wide receivers. Downs would have been a solid, hopefully decently high target share, consistent choice. I think we'll take Tracy. I think the opportunity if Scadaboo's hamstring is bigger for me than any sort of, late season opportunity for Jaylen Warren. And then we probably go Atlanta. We haven't worked too well into their matchups quite yet. But Mooney's another decent boom. How's his injury going? Remains week to week. I like some of these running backs we can get later, so I do think we go wide receiver here. To be fair, Pittman is a lot better with DJ at quarterback. I think he has a higher target volume than Mooney, and we kind of need volume right now, not week-to-week upside. Mooney's more of the high week-to-week ceiling TD deep threat to me than Pittman, which I just said with Downs. We do have a singular game with Pearsall to work into, but it's more so just now you have the tight end in Tyler Warren, but I expect their target shares are fairly secure. I wouldn't expect like 120 target season out of Tyler Warren, but I could be wrong. Either way, I don't think Pittman has fallen off completely yet. I think he just struggled, one, with injury and just really poor quarterback play last year. It's kind of the Anthony Richardson reality. At least early in the season with DJ, we hope he can do a little bit. Wide receiver room outside of the top two is fairly ugly right now. I do like Pearsall, but I won't lie to you and say like he's a secure pick. 120 is our next range. Keep working into this wide receiver room because we do need it. I don't think we reach on Davis at that 120 spot. Burden would be okay, but again, I'm leaning more towards someone like Kirk who could find a more consistent role. Any ADP values are decently worth though if we can snag them. The thing with Scadaboo, the reason why I like Tracy, is these reports at least had you believe that it's like a very minor positive news. The shit that I've seen showed that like at least how the Giants are approaching it is not historically like good data-wise. A hamstring injury like this during the preseason can not only linger but be very easily re-aggravated. If Tyron Tracy gets full reign of the backfield, that's all we need out of an RB3 is just volume to keep us afloat, especially when we have Bijan and Monty. More than fine with Tracy. He also plays that one game with Vegas, which is not a bad thing for us. Houston does play against Vegas, so that does give further creed to Kirk, especially if we're aiming to take Geno as the second quarterback, which I do think is a fair play after going Hurts. Because then we'd line up for Vegas, Philly, Houston, Giants. We'd have a little bit of minis for each of those and a play of Geno to Brock, which we're going to need a fair bit. Coleman, I'm taking. I get it. He's Keon Coleman, but at 120, I'm more than fine taking him. Shaheed ain't bad either. Again, he isn't the stability we need, but neither is Coleman. Coleman does go. I'm definitely going to go Kirk with the first one. Let the board speak to me on the other. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to reach on Ray. I do like him, though, especially if James Cook is cocky enough to sit out. I think I can get Kirk at the next one. I don't like betting on this Saints offense, but 10 spots after ADP is enough of a justification when we need something. We need a little bit more out of this wide receiver room. And I do think he's admittedly in a worse offense, but similar role to Rashad Bateman. Given the lack of other receiving options for New Orleans, I do think he ends up with a higher season total targets. Team's not going to be good. We'll likely be playing behind a fair bit. The only thing with New Orleans, like, you can still buy into a bad offense with one player. The problem you get is when you, like, stack hit. Like, you can't do, I'm not going to be doing this double out of New Orleans. And then Kirk's fine. And we have 6 wideouts to hopefully push us there. Admittedly ugly. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, say that it doesn't look ugly. But when you invest 2 high picks in a quarterback and tight end, after going at the 2 spot with Bijan, that's likely what's going to end up happening. There's certainly some name values that'll make your roster look better, but in terms of the way I'm trying to build this, I'm fine with how we've gone. I expect we're going to go, what, 2-6-7-2? Is that math right? No, it would be 2-6-8-2. So we still have 2 more spots at wide receiver, plenty more at running back. Can also, I mean, 9 is a difficult spot at wide receiver. It's definitely suboptimal. But we have the luxury of sitting at 2 on quarterback. Like, the reality is, while I said you don't want to rely on this double to get you there, if it completely falters, like, you're dead anyway. You need Hurts to be throwing the ball a bit more this season and a little bit more than a bit. You just need him to be Josh Allen, attempts-wise, which is probable, likely, decent chance of happening. Like, Saquon's just not going to get the volume that he got last year, simply from, like, just the history of the NFL. It's running backs never achieve that volume 2 years in a row. If they do, it's very rare, very scarce, whether that be for injury reasons or just the most likely outcome, they average out. Like, he's going to return to what a normal season likely would be, which is still going to be a high-volume season, just not that high volume. Looking at Detroit, is there anything else we could play into? Likely not at this point of the draft. We're going to be looking at 143, 146. Yeah, I mean, Benson Palmer is more than fine. I think I'd rather kick the can a little bit further down and not take Kincaid even if he's there. Just simply because, like, I don't perceive Kincaid as a... It's admittedly very small, the chance of him being a top 5 tight end. You have to be drafting someone in this range that has a likelihood of being a top 5 tight end to justify it. Otherwise, if they're just a mid-range tight end, they're going to finish the year with the same amount of points as the guys you're drafting down here. So save yourself the the ADP investment most of the time, unless you think it's a player that can finish top 5 at the position, specifically for tight ends. I don't think we can go Spears here. We need support from these other positions. At least more perceivable, consistent support. Benson into Palmer is more than fine. And then we hope we get, one more of these Las Vegas receivers. Geno, we may even have to be struggling to get here, yeah. That is a realization I'm now having. We don't line up too well for him. Honestly, though, getting a Geno Smith stack is not at the top of my priority list. Again, if this were BBM, Kincaid's the pick. If you have somehow end up with a Hurts double in BBM, you take Kincaid to kind of try and max out that 17 matchup as much as you can. Given we're playing over 3 weeks, I'm not stressing too much about it. I'll take a premium handcuff in Benson, who also does play into one game with Bijan. But his main value here is just the fact that if James Conner does get hurt, which he has been prone likely to do at times, Benson's a premium pick. A lot of hype in my group chat today about Bashaw Tootin just because of a single tweet. I'm not buying too much yet. Palmer, again, admittedly more of a BBM pick, but we get one game with Philly, and Buffalo is a high-scoring offense. The reality is Palmer's going to be a field stretcher, similar role to Shaheed this year. He's not going to be a high-volume guy, but given the depth that we're going to have at wide receiver, just positional total-wise, we don't really need him to be super high volume. We just need him to provide value a couple of times in the year. But, yeah, I wouldn't bet on Palmer getting a significant uptick in targets. I think he'll maintain the same role that he's been having. There's just a chance he maybe gets a couple more TDs. Maybe you see this. I'd be closer. I think in this offense, his ceiling's around 90-ish targets, but with high efficiency, that can be a valuable wide receiver 3. If he gets 90-ish targets and 6 TDs, with the role that he'll be playing, it'll likely be a decent bit of yardage and give you some decent value in any given week. Smith's an auto take if he's there. If not, we can take just a naked Stafford. It's not what you want to do, but it is what you can do when you need to. I don't think we'd want to pin it down to Shah. I'm not taking AR. His level of ceiling doesn't mean too much to me in this current roster. If we really had to, we could take naked Darnold, but hopefully we can get one of Smith or Stafford at this next pick. Preferably Smith. Just because we already have the target for him. It is, 167 and then 170. At 170, we have a bit open. Ertz is fine. We have 2 games, Giants and Philly, so he'd probably be a decent take. Be happy with that. Same thing with Eckler. Either one of them would be fine. But quarterback is definitely the priority at the first pick, so we don't get screwed. This guy's only got 2 RBs. McCaffrey, Henry, I get it, but not even a third yet. To be fair, that is it's not insane to do. If either McCaffrey or Henry get hurt for an extended time, his team's fucked anyway. But I don't know. That's interesting. Who was it? It was the Ertz guy. This team interests me. Alright, I'll look at it later. Or we can hit the board and see how it scopes out. Took Geno. Tell me you got a target for Geno, brother. Tell me you got a target for Geno, brother. You don't. Alright. We just got to take Stafford. It's fine. We can, we'd have to do... Where's he at? Where's my boy at? I'll just type in his name. Tutu Atwell. I've said it before how I think Atwell has a decent bit of ceiling upside. Dante Thornton is another, like, him being a rookie and being that field stretcher, I don't want to bet into that too much right now. Grendo just for value. Yeah, we can take the upside on... Oh, he's got it. Fuck. Whatever. I don't need Tutu Atwell. None of these running backs really look good to me. Thornton I don't love. I just said why, but maybe I proved myself wrong here. I already don't like Ja'Cory that much, especially when you can get, like, Marks 20 picks after him, and Marks has a much better situation he's walking into with the Mixon injury. It's the same reason I don't like Nick Chubb. Like, Nick Chubb's not supposed to be the starter to start the season. They definitely want to give him a lot more time to ramp up. So I think there's a lot of immediate opportunity for Woody Marks this year. And this basically does close out our wide receiver plans, which is fine. Sincerely doubt we're going to go 9. We can just take Stafford naked for a little bit of a bye week fill-in. There's nothing wrong with that. BBM getting that 2-2 stack's a little bit more important. Granted, we do have 2 games. Do we have 2 or 1 for LA? Only 1 right now. Well, no, 2. Forgot about Monty. So Stafford at least makes a little bit of game stacking sense. I don't think we need Tutu, even though I do like him. The benefit with Thornton, even though I don't like it, is that we do have 3 games lined up for him. No, we have 2. No, we have 3. I have Kirk. I'm mixing it up left and right here right now. But yeah, Woody Marks also does play into now 2 matchups for us with Benson. So he's the priority at the next one. Now we just take a random later tight end here. We do... No, we don't have any KC. We only have the 1 Nola. Either way, Gesicki would be fine. Is he back on the mend? He's got a hammy too now. Which does suck. Schultz would be fine. I've taken Schultz late a lot. Definitely aiming for Marks at this next pick. His final 2 picks are just going to be... Oh, we have 3. Well, it's going to be running back, tight end, and then probably another running back. So we can peruse who we'd prefer. I don't give a fuck about Miles Sanders. I can tell you that much. I have not drafted that motherfucker once. Brooks would be fine if he falls. Same with Smith. Hill could be a little bit of value. Kittens maybe. Honestly, do we... No, we don't have Carolina or Miami. I do like taking Sean Tucker if I, have all 3 games lined up and like 0 Tampa Bay. Can make some sense. Beck is tempting here, but I need running back room and, running back room help. And Marks, again, I said it. I think you can view Marks as like we viewed Dameon Pierce. Like, the reason that Pierce had any value in Dynasty or Redraft was because he was walking into an empty running back room. You don't have to think that Woody Marks is some generational talent to know that if Mixon is out for an extended period of time and the other running back is Nick Chubb, who's an aging running back coming off an ACL tear, hey, this guy has some opportunity. We can wait on the tight end for Schultzy. So let's just go Smith, I think. Well, Brooks, not Smith. Apologies. Bye week wise, yeah. They're both 10. Nothing to worry about there. None of these play any better than the other, so we'll just take the highest ADP guy. They're all the same thing to me. Alright, and then we close out with a tight end. Cap this puppy off. Can queue up a few here and there in case we need to. On 2 tight end, I said it before, I don't like taking... Even though I do think there's value in his late season ceiling with Ferguson. 2 tight end, you need your second tight end to be somewhat viable. Like, have a little bit of consistent target share. Ferguson doesn't really have that, but I think he's decent in 3 tight end builds where you want to get a little bit of late LA and high ceiling for a 3-game sprint. We aren't going to take another running back. We do need tight end. while we wait for this pick to pull up, I also want to look at this McCaffrey-Henry guy before I review my team. Nah, that gets us too far out. Oh, shit. Apologies for what I just did to you. Start off McCaffrey-Henry. JSN, Tet gets a mini there, but that's more best ball shit. Ridley, too. I mean, I like each of those three wide receivers. Egbuka, the price at 65 is tough for me to swallow. Does have a game with Tet, to be fair. Nothing out of Minnesota, just, I guess, likes Hawk. Shakir Higgins. I mean, yeah, to be fair, starting off with those two running backs, I don't see myself taking any of these other guys. And then McCarthy for Hawk, Stroud for Higgins. I see the vision. Gets Ward for Ridley. I honestly like it a fair bit. And now he's just building out the room with some later round flyers that he hopes can give him some value. I respect that. I have not done much hero RB builds yet this year. So maybe I should use this as a learning opportunity to do that myself from time to time. For us, we start off with Bijan into Bowers and A.J. Brown. Made me feel like I was about to do a little jig there. This could be a little too much, but hey, it's ceiling and it's unique. You're not going to find many other teams that start off with this 5. I personally like feeling a little bit more consistent at the RB2 rather than punting this further down. Monty's a player I like a lot. I don't think his role's in too much jeopardy this season at all, and the offense is still going to be humming from top to bottom. Thought our pick was going to get a little bit speedier there. Next one is Pearsall. I think given the injuries surrounding the San Francisco wide receiver room right now, Pearsall has a lot of early season opportunity to go out and prove why they drafted him so high last year. That early season opportunity could lead to a bigger role later in the year, but the main factor is like a wide receiver that's going to get a lot of early season targets for us is valuable considering the Philly offense isn't going to be throwing the ball too much from a season-long perspective. Hopefully we can get Schultz here, and then I can get back to my rambling. Yeah, we'll go Schultzy. And that closes out that one. So yeah, just the fact that Pearsall, one, still has like a season-long ceiling should he capitalize on the volume he's given early year, and the fact that he just has that volume early year is the reason that he makes sense for us, even though he doesn't play into any games currently when we take him. Tyrone Tracy, just a little bit more running back support. This, honestly, if we had seen some more wide receivers that I like on the board at this pick, I'm open to taking a wide receiver here and skipping on Tracy. The one thing we do with Tracy is that he does play Las Vegas 17. We knew Washington might be some later stuff we could get into given the Philly stacking we have. But the other big factor, I think Scadaboo's hamstring injury is at least somewhat worrying. And there's also a chance that Tracy just still maintains more of the running back share with Scadaboo there or not. Pittman, I would have really liked getting Downs at either of these picks. I prefer him just because his lower average depth of target means that he's going to be a safety valve more often than not. Considering how bad both of the Indianapolis Colts quarterbacks are, AR has never been good for Downs, to be fair. He played much better last year, Downs did, when he had Flacco in the game. I suspect it'll be the same with Daniel Jones, especially with how much he peppered Wan'Dale Robinson over his career as a Giant. The one benefit we do get with Pittman is in best ball, Pittman can always pop off, and I do think his target share is relatively safe, even with the addition of Tyler Warren. Rashid Shaheed, simply an ADP value. I don't like betting on this New Orleans offense, like, ever. But he's a boomer bust receiver. He's shown off his ability to have some decently big weeks. If somehow their quarterback room gets a little bit better, or at least is better than we expect it to be, Shaheed could be a decent wide receiver. I don't expect him to crush ADP value at 120, but I think he can be enough to get us to the big dance in those 3 weeks for the sprint. Christian Kirk does kind of do what I really wanted with Downs, which is in this offense, like, he's not going to be a deep threat field stretcher. He'll more likely than not be like an intermediate route guy. Or what you really hope is that he's the one that takes the Tank Dell role in the slot over where's my guy? I can't find him, but over Jalen Knoll. You hope that he takes the slot role over Jalen Knoll, and that'll be a lot of value for you. Additionally, veteran player in an up-in-the-air wide receiver room outside of Nico Collins does give us a little bit of value. Houston also does play Arizona, which we got Trey Benson for. and Las Vegas over the 3-game stretch, which is nice for us. Josh Palmer, just another ADP value. Wide receiver on a good offense that could be a deep threat that pops off randomly and gives us some value in the wide receiver room, which again, I feel like we need, given that this main stack for us massively increases our 3-game ceiling in 15, 16, 17 at the cost of our season-long floor and like advance rate. So that's why I really wanted to build out the wide receiver room, make sure that we weren't flying too close to the sun for our own good. Thornton here, I was struggling at this pick. I didn't really like any of these running backs. I don't really like Thornton that much either, but there's a chance that he's better than I think. Pete Carroll wants to get him the ball more than I expect, and Las Vegas plays well into a couple of games for us. Woody Marks, I've been drafting this guy a ton. At 190, a rookie running back that has massive opportunity given the injuries and what we know about the injuries right now, I love it. Taj Brooks, we just need another running back. Not really much of a consensus behind the big bad Chase Brown. I don't know where he was at. Drafted it at, wow. Took Chase Brown at 13. Damn. There's just value. Handcuff, rookie running back, take it. And then Schultz, we already talked about Houston. Same thing with Christian Kirk, given how up in the air the Houston wide receiver room is right now. Schultz does have a decent bit of value for you in the tight end room. That's it for this draft. Appreciate you joining me. Hope you'll be back tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, draft well. Peace!